On a sunny morning in Rome, the door of the building in St. Peter's Square closes. The resident doesn't have to be in a hurry. Jose Saraiva Martins lives in a building of the institution he manages. It is the Sacred Congregation for the Causes of Saints. Jose Saraiva Martins is the Prince of the Church, a Cardinal of the Holy Roman Catholic Church. Cardina means hinges supporting the door. So the cardinals are the people with great responsibility. They are cardini, hinges of the church. Why is that? There are two reasons. Firstly, they elect the Pope. It is a huge responsibility. Secondly, they have to be close to the Pope. Not far from Saraiva Martins' institution, in the Vatican's museums, there's a map gallery. Here you can see Viterbo, a town which used to belong to the States of the Church, lying 100 kilometers from Rome. Why is it linked with Cardinal Martins? We have to go 700 years back in time. Every year, for 700 years, on the 3rd of September, a 30-meter high tower is raised. It's made of steel, wood and papier-mâché and illuminated by hundreds of bulbs and candles. The tower weighs 5 tons. It's crowned by a saint's figure. The tower is called Macchina di Santa Rosa, Tower of St. Rose. 130 appointed men called Facchini were carried on their shoulders to the St. Rose's Square. The porters are proudly parading through the town, trying out their itinerary. The celebrations will start soon. The commander calls out rows of Facchini. Precise and accurate placing of the men guarantees success of the procession. The town is plunged in darkness. Only the candles of the Macchina di Santa Rosa lights the streets. St. Rose was born in 1235 in Viterbo and expelled for insulting Emperor Frederick II, whose death she had foretold. Too poor to enter a convent, she became famous for her miracles before dying at the age of 17 in a cell in her family home. 200 years later, Callistus III canonized her. Unfortunately, Viterbo didn't enter the history books because of the St. Rose. Its fame started in 1268, 16 years after the saint's death. This is when the Pope Clement IV died. 17 cardinals gathered to elect his successor. The cardinals in Viterbo needed a majority of 12 votes. For almost 3 years, they didn't manage to achieve it. It wasn't surprising at all. Disputes and arguments had accompanied the election of all popes for 200 years. The cardinals existed already in the early centuries of Christianity, but it wasn't until 1059 they gained an important role. Then, on the strength of an apostolic constitution in nomine Domini, the cardinals gained exclusive right of electing the pope. In this moment, the College of Cardinals became one of the most important bodies in the Catholic Church.
Stavano qui poi a Viterbo, stavano tranquilli perché si erano accorti che in fondo.
They kept deliberating in Viterbo at leisure because they found out he actually played the role of the Pope, managed the church, received tributes of kings and princes and other personages. They felt happy about it.
E stavano comodi perché i viterbesi avevano anche l'interesse che questi.
The people of Viterbo also wanted the cardinals to stay. Every cardinal had 300 people with him, so the townsmen of Viterbo made good money on them. Finally, the endless disputes started to scandalize the town. The residents of Viterbo wanted a new pope. They weren't interested in the prophets anymore and decided to get rid of annoying guests. Captain Gatti, with a delegation, went to the bishop's palace, where the cardinals deliberated.
The
townsmen heard from the cardinals, "Do you think that the Holy Spirit can descend and enlighten us so easily?" The people replied, "We know a remedy for it." And they pulled down the roof. It's a historical proved fact. There's a parchment with a plea written by the cardinals to the municipal authorities to open the door of the palace since the Cardinal of Susa was dying. They wrote, "Let him die outside the conclave walls." The parchment has a note, written in Viterbo, in a roofless palace. The removal of the roof didn't help. The cardinals constructed tents. There are still holes where crosiers were fixed. So the townsmen didn't deliver any food, but bread and water. The idea proved successful. Hungry cardinals elected a new pope. From these days, a session of cardinals electing a pope is called conclave. The word derives from the Latin cum clave, with a key. Until the end of the 20th century, conclaves were similar to the one of Viterbo. It is the oldest assembly that has survived until today. It was established in the Middle Ages. I think it is exactly the scale that attracts so much attention. It's by no means a media event, but it should be stressed that this old institution does in fact work, and it recently has been electing very good popes. When Pius XI died in 1939, the preparation for conclave started immediately. An enclosure for cardinals was created. A part of the palace was separated by walls with revolving trays to give food to the cardinals. The halls of the palace were turned into the cardinals' cells. Supply of food was gathered in a kitchen, and additional staff was employed. In the Sistine Chapel, chairs for the electors with canopies were put. When a new pope is elected, the canopies collapse. Finally, when the enclosure door was closed and sealed, the sitting of the cardinals, cum clave, could start. The ballot papers were burnt. Finally, when a white smoke appeared, all the canopies collapsed. Only one stayed aloft, over the Pope's chair. The first conclave of the 21st century was different. The cardinals didn't have to suffer enclosed in the Apostolic Palace. South from St. Peter's Basilica was a modern St. Martha's house. Thanks to John Paul II's forms, the Papal Electors could stay there, but the sitting still took place under lock and key.
Conclave.
I can share my experience with you, since I, for the first time, took part in the conclave which elected Benedict XVI. It's a spiritual seclusion. The cardinals try, in the face of God, to decide who is the most worthy to provide functioning of the visible church, who has spiritual, intellectual and human virtues corresponding to the needs of today's church. Conclave as an institution has a long history. We know that the history keeps changing. Many centuries ago, there were much fewer cardinals. In a conclave, 20 cardinals, or even fewer, participated. Today, the College of Cardinals has grown larger and consists of 120 cardinals. A lot has changed, because the Church is like a living body. It's a living organism. The Church keeps changing as time goes by, adapting to the new reality. John Paul II introduced a system of consultation with cardinals, non-electors, those who are above 80, and changed the system of counting the votes. These reforms, however, haven't changed the nature of conclave. When Papal Master of Ceremonies says, "Extra omnes," the rest leave. We can witness a procedure, the outcome of which can be a turning point in the history of our civilization.
You know, in the old days, it was the election of a pope of the Catholic Church. Therefore, it was an intra-Catholic matter. I mean, today, I think it is the election of the prime minister of the human conscience. I mean, by that I mean that the Pope today is the most important voice for, you know, an ethical and religious perspective on human affairs. I mean, there is no issue that faces the human family the Pope is not expected to have a position on.
This time, 4 series of ballots were enough, and white smoke appeared.
Habemus Papam, Sancte Romane Ecclesiae, Cardinalem Ratzinger.
Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger was elected for the 265th successor of St. Peter. Announcing the Pope, his newly assumed name and his public appearance are the habits from the times when the Pope was elected by the people of Rome. The new Pope is accompanied by the cardinals. The group will grow even bigger soon. Near the Pantheon, there's a tailor's workshop. For 250 years, it's belonged to the Camerelli and has dressed a special clientele, cardinals. Even today, cardinals are called princes of blood. It's a legacy from late tradition. The expression princes of blood is also a reference to the cardinal's scarlet garments, symbolizing blood of martyrs. The College of Cardinals might resemble the Pope's court. The cardinals are princes of blood of the Holy Father. The post of cardinal, unlike the one of a priest or bishop, has no theological dimension. Cardinalship is connected with managing the church. Today, a priest can become a cardinal. Until the 19th century, and even a layperson could become a cardinal. For example, Polish King John Casimirus. Giacomo Antonelli was the last lay cardinal. There were lay cardinals who were not priests. It's an old tradition. Also, the Pope in the moment of election until the 9th century didn't have to be a priest. After the election, he was ordained Bishop of Rome. Also today, the Pope is the Bishop of Rome because the bishop couldn't leave his diocese. So they elected someone who was not a bishop, who could become a Bishop of Rome. After being elected, he became a Bishop of Rome and a Pope. Since a Pope has to be a Bishop of Rome, his electors have to be members of Roman clergy. In a moment, a group of bishops will be appointed cardinals. They will obtain cardinals birrettas and will be incardinated, that is, appointed parish priests of suburbicabian churches. The Pope will still be elected from among parish priests of the Roman churches.
Stanislaum Civic, Archiepiscopum Cracoviensem. Ad honorem Dei Omnipotentis et Sanctorum Apostolorum Petri et Pauli, tibi committimus titulum Sancta Maria di Popolo, in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.
His Eminence, Stanisław Dziwisz, by becoming a cardinal, doesn't only become a future papal elector. Cardinal Dziwisz will be one of 120 cardinals, those who manage the Catholic Church in the whole world, leading dioceses and a congregation of the Roman Curia. The Pope has close relations with cardinals. In crucial moments, he summons them and demands their opinion. The cardinals are entrusted with managing various ministries of the Church. There's a cardinal for the Bishops' Congress, or for the missions, etc. They share responsibility for the so-called Peter's ministry, to a bigger extent than bishops. The Pope appoints them personally. Of course, he makes consultation, but he's independent in his final decision. His Eminence, Jose Saraiva Martins, obtained Cardinal's birretta in 2001. 3 years earlier, he became a prefect of the Congregation for the Causes of Saints. He is responsible for the beatification and canonization processes. He identifies saints and the blessed of the Catholic Church. Our work consists of stating whether sainthood materialized in a given person. We try to assert whether an alleged miracle attributed to a servant of God is a true miracle. In other words, a phenomena which is scientifically inexplicable. If there are premises that it can't be explained by science, it's usually attributed to God as an intersection of this God's servant. The whole of proceedings of the congregation's tribunal, it looks like a cross between a court and a conference room. Like in any court, there are defenders and judges. During the process, the last 10 years of God's servant's life is analyzed in detail. There are easier and more complex beatification processes. For instance, beatification process of a nun who spent her life in a convent is easier than that of a pope. In the Middle Ages, the popes advised to consider the last period of a candidate's life, since the person might have reformed. Sainthood concerns mainly the last part of life, indeed. If we took under consideration only the first part of St. Augustine's life, he would not be considered saint at all. But he went through a difficult path. Reformation is beautiful. That's why we talk about easy and difficult saints looking at these details. Archives of the congregation, records of years of research, testimonies of hundreds of witnesses, testimonies of miracles and doubts. Cardinal Saraiva Martin's work consists of asking questions and searching answers. Difficult and easy saints. Saints from remote centuries: Ignatius Loyola, founder of the Jesuits, Blessed Catherine Emmerich, whose visions inspired Gibson's Passion, and contemporary saints, St. Faustina. What happened in the case of Faustina happened also in the case of Catherine Emmerich. He was beatified, but many difficulties emerged due to a wrong interpretation of her vision. Exactly the same thing happened to Faustina. It is quite possible that a priest or someone else doesn't believe in her visions. It's absolutely normal. We have to consider all pros and cons until we are sure the visions are very real and the person who doubted was wrong. The congregation, led by Cardinal Saraiva Martins, searches and finds answers to the most crucial questions in today's church. Questions about sainthood, its dimension in our secularized times, about its sense and whether it's possible to be a saint today. How to become a saint? The easiest thing, one can become a saint by becoming a real human being. Sainthood is nothing but a humanity. We say that Christ is an ideal human being because he embodies the sainthood of the Father. Sainthood is not dictated to humanity. Sainthood is complete humanity. All the saints were deeply human, more human than ordinary human beings. Thus, to become a saint, one should just try to be a real human being.